Hello, I'm Sierra Scott. Welcome to It's All Good. This is a show dedicated to people, places, companies, and organizations that are working hard to make the world a better place to live. There's a hidden treasure here in Wichita that very few people know about, and fewer still have ever seen. Not only are the artifacts rare and plentiful, the building they're housed in is even more impressive. Today, we take you on a tour of the Kansas Firefighters Museum.
Our biggest problem is nobody knows we're here.
And that's a real shame because there's a lot of amazing history here.
We want them to walk away to realize how much we have gone from one area to another. Wichita was the first ever totally motorized fire department in the United States. Second in the world. Paris, France was the first. So people don't know that.
This was at the centrally located dispatch shack, and it was hooked up to these fire boxes out on street corners. The boxes were placed in strategic areas like high-value areas or industrial areas. If you needed the fire department, you'd open this door, pull that lever down. That would send a signal to this thing here. The dispatcher would read this, and that would tell him which box had turned in the alarm, like this box is 812. And this thing would tap out 812. He would read that, and then he would get on the phone and call the stations and dispatch the stations.
There's some pretty amazing artifacts here at the Kansas Firefighters Museum as well, like this fire engine.
We have the original hose wagon that was built for this station. This wagon was built in 1909, and it was the last piece of horse-drawn equipment that ever rolled out of a firehouse in the city of Wichita. Now, it's not an impressive piece, but that we have it is so impressive. Setting right behind it is a 1902 American Metropolitan steamer. This is a horse-drawn, coal-fired, steam-powered pump. On the stack it says Wichita 2.
And that's quite a feat, since both Wichita 1 and Wichita 2 were supposed to be cut up. Luckily, someone decided at the last minute to save Wichita 2, and thank goodness they did.
It was bought by the city in 1902 and fought fire in the city until about 1931. The way this thing works is this big black tank here is very much like your hot water tank at home, except instead of making hot water, we make steam. Instead of heating it with gas or electricity, we use coal. We'd heat it up. This is your water level inside the boiler. Steam is turned here on top of the pistons, and you probably have 175 psi steam. 175 pounds pushing down on that piston, something's going to move. But it's engineered where it is so effective that this thing in its day with the right operator could go from a cold boiler to enough steam to start churning the pump in from 7 to 11 minutes.
It's not just these artifacts that are worth seeing. Where these things are housed has a very interesting past as well.
The building has got lots of personality, lots of history.
Engine House number 6 is here because of the dedication, hard work, and passion of 6 key people who refused to let it be demolished.
We started on this thing really in about 94, and 2001 is when we had the grand opening and everybody was open to the public.
Engine House number 6 is on the National and the Kansas Register of Historic Buildings.
Well, the building was built in 1909, and it was manned from January 2nd, 1910 until 1953.
At this point, the Volunteer Fire Auxiliary took it over, but soon after abandoned it, and it began to fall into disrepair.
The city was using it for a warehouse, and they might as well just put their stuff out here in the grass because there was no glass left anywhere in the building. Some of them, there was no windows left. This window inside here had plywood over it. The roof leaked like a sieve. When it rained, you might as well be outside as inside.
So the 3 neighborhood people and the 3 retired firefighters started to work on it.
One of the first things we had to do is get the roof fixed. This one spring, when we first started, it's one spring like it is now. It's wet an awful lot. It rained so much, there was mushrooms growing out of the cracks of the floor in here. It's really pretty sad.
It wasn't much better when the weather cooled down.
Flip side of that is we're up here, it's winter time, we're about to freeze to death, we're working in gloves and no heat. One of the guys has got one of these little kerosene heaters.
It was a big day of celebration the day they finally got enough money to put a furnace in.
Heat. We got heat. There's heat coming on. This is wonderful. I mean, we're in tall cotton. About the time we're feeling the heat, we hear somebody coming up the steps, and it's the city inspector. He says, you do not have architectural drawings, you don't have permits, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, do you understand this building belongs to the city and we're trying to, doesn't make any difference. So he shut us down, red tagged us.
When they finally got that straightened out, they were able to go back to work. Coming up after the break, we'll tell you about some other reasons this project took so long. Welcome back to It's All Good. Right before the break, we told you about all the snags this group ran into while trying to restore Firehouse number 6. But even when things were running smoothly, it still took a lot of time. When restoring this building, they did everything they could to keep it in its original condition.
This is the actual floor. It was really in bad shape, and this is a real narrow oak floor.
They sanded and sanded and sanded until they got down to good wood, and then they put sealers on it.
And it's far from perfect, but it has lots of personality.
It does. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
we're very proud of it.
You should be. It is absolutely stunning.
There's so many things that have happened here at the station that I truly believe this is something that was supposed to happen. When we first started on this thing, the local paper came down and did an article on it. There was a gentleman that read that article in the paper, and he called me and he says, I have something that you might be interested in.
It was this Ford Model T fire truck that he had rebuilt.
So he's got this jewel and no place to show it off, so he gave it to us. It's got a big old 4-cylinder engine in it. It's got lots of lugging power. The exhaust system on it is probably about 2.5-inch, 3-inch pipe with no muffler, so it really talks to you. One thing really unique on this thing is it's a chain drive, and I don't know whether you can pick that up or not, but look underneath there, a great big chain. It's a chain drive. You look at this thing, and all this stuff that looks like gold, it is gold. That's real gold leaf. All this striping is hand-painted.
It was about 2.5 to 3 years before the building was in a state where the fire truck could be moved in.
And when we moved it in, he came to see it, and I'm telling him all about our hopes and dreams and what we want to do.
At that point, the area right outside the building was just grass, weeds, and trees.
I was telling him we want to put in a memorial to fallen firefighters, which there was none in Kansas at that time. And he says, there's a lady where I live that sculpts. She might be interested in helping you. See how that's coming together? We brought her here, and she looked the place over a little bit, and she says, I want nothing for my time or talent. She said, I'll donate my time.
Her name was Dorothy Coling. She was 87 years old when she took on this project.
She totally designed the statue. She named it. It's the last call. I always get a lump in my throat. She uncovered this thing, and she says, BK, you know, it's hard to tell a story with just one statue. And she uncovers this thing, and it was there. It was everything we wanted.
How's this for a strange coincidence? They broke ground on this memorial on 9/11, the day the Twin Towers went down, killing dozens of firefighters who were trying to rescue those inside. In order to help fund this museum, they came up with a project that was a perfect fit.
We started the calendar. It's been going for 3 years now. But because of this, we're getting a little money coming in.
We sell that, we make the money off of that. Part of the proceeds go, of course, to renovating the fire museum, but also we use it to buy coats for kids. And we average about 600 kids every year. We put coats, hats, and gloves on them for the wintertime. The calendars are $15 a piece, and we have raised, this year was a really good year. We've raised over $20,000.
It's taken more than just the 6 original workers to make this happen. Nick says none of this would have been possible without the support of everyone concerned.
It's not just the firefighters, it's also their families that are involved in it. We come in here on Saturday mornings. We all take turns doing volunteer work here.
There's no paid personnel. Nobody here is paid anything. It's all totally volunteer. Everything we make goes back into the thing.
Hopefully that thing will grow even bigger in the years to come.
As you can see, we're full. We have 3 fire trucks that are stored. We have all kinds of artifacts that are stored. We need to show them to the people. They're not doing any good when they're stored.
They hope to build another building behind the current firehouse. The city has already agreed to donate the land.
So what we need now is a sugar daddy to like his name on a new addition. And that's what this is all about, trying to get the money together to do that.
They're a 501c3, which means they're a legally designated charity, so your donations are tax deductible. This is a drawing of what they hope to build. BK says it's expected to cost around $500,000.
When people come to visit, we also let them know about the different programs we have. We have a fire camp that's coming up here in June.
It's a day-long camp for kids in 6th through 9th grades.
They do ventilation, extrication, do all kinds of stuff at South High.
I hope they've learned about appreciation of our firefighters and the things that they do.
What makes this even more amazing, they did it with an almost zero budget.
Any project we'd have, we had no money. We'd put in our own money, try to get something going. We had no kitty to draw from. It's been lots and lots of fun, lots of camaraderie, lots of fellowship, but we've had lots of fun doing it, and we've worked hard at it. The buckets up here, you'll notice they're shaped different than normal buckets. Back in the days when they was fighting fire with buckets, that's the same circa time that you needed buckets to milk the cows and feed the chickens and stuff like that. The fire service found if they made their buckets flat on the bottom, people would borrow them and not bring them back. So they made them round or pointed so that they wouldn't borrow them. And some of the buckets, they have a handle on the bottom of them, stuff like that. It makes them a little easier to use. This whole thing is so much bigger than I ever thought it would be. It's such a beautiful setup. It's full of so many warm fuzzies.
If you want to see this museum for yourself, you have to plan it just right. At this point, it's only open one day a week. That's on Saturdays from 11 to 3. They also give private tours to groups of 10 or more. You can call them at 316-264-5990 to arrange one.